You want to rally it up? Yeah!
Shoot. All right, so in this episode, we're talking about playing offense, and some of the ping pong clips you just saw between me and Anderson. I lost 2 out of 3 games, and it was more of a mindset. We're pretty evenly close. I beat him the first game. Second game, I went into more defensive mode. I was reacting. I wasn't being nimble. I wasn't moving my feet. And I think that translates over to business. Like if you're playing defense, you're not playing offense. You're not hitting your power shots, and you're letting your opponent control the game. And in business, that's not the way you want to go. You want to control your destiny. If you're going to lose, be the one to lose yourself. Don't lose because somebody else beat you. Lose because you beat yourself, giving it your all. I was pretty fired up, and that's exactly why I lost. So, I know, not exactly why I lost, but I know that's a good reason. Like that second game, I sucked ass, and it wasn't until I had to start scoring and had to go on offense when I ran 14 points straight. That's like I was taking control. I was hitting the shots I wanted to hit. I said, mentally, screw my opponent. I'm gonna do me.
Hey. I'm going to move the video back over to Hangouts because I think it's better. Basically, there are 5 types of triggered campaigns, and I think we should be doing at least 2 or 3 of these. Number 2, which seemed like it was one of the more lucrative ones, and I think that it also is one that is particularly applicable to really all of our businesses, is what he calls a 1-2 punch. And then number 4, he calls this the sheepdog because it's geared towards, if you've ever watched a sheepdog goes out and tries to get the herd back together. What I like about this is if you have a different series for every part of the life cycle, no matter how old people are on our list, they would fall into one of those categories today. So if we wouldn't necessarily have to roll this all out together, but hypothetically if we did, every single one of our customers would fall into one of these buckets. It covers the full life cycle. So we need to think through the logistics of it, but that's basically where my head's at, and it's a lot more strategic than I think I appreciated before when we've talked about doing automated campaigns. This is really bifurcating customers into buckets and having specific strategies for people who fall into those buckets based on their behavior and based on historical behavior of people who fall into those buckets. And the interesting thing is everything that I'm studying, open rates are higher, click-through rates are higher, spend rates are higher. So I think this, from an email marketing standpoint, is definitely the low-hanging fruit. I want to try and find out what the competition is doing or not doing, and what are our strengths? What are our key, where are we adding the most value for them? Because clearly we are, because they're coming back. Right. They're going outside their normal system to come to us. Yeah. I mean, the great news is things are playing out exactly the way I thought they would. I mean, we said that, a while back, that we just need to be patient and let these guys stumble and then wait for our opening. And I think, if it's not accelerating, if the pace of people coming to us outside their system isn't accelerating and it's kind of staying steady, then I think, what you're saying makes sense, that this is our window and it's not changing. Right. So there's no advantage in waiting. The other thing, and I'm just kind of this is kind of snowballing. Mm-hmm. Let's get a press release out about you and about our like really, doubling down our focus on B2B print efforts.
Okay.
Because I don't think that I think part of what's holding us back is I don't think people who know me, people who know our business, don't realize that we do that because they think of us as a consumer e-commerce business.
Yeah.
Which primarily we are, but this is a growing part of our business and we should, leverage that. So one of the things you'll see as we're documenting some of these conversations, I have a focus right now on pushing us to play offense, not defense. And I think that, businesses as they go through various points in the growth cycle need to play offense and need to play defense. So defensive side would be more of like the in-house stuff, making sure your production is efficient, making sure that you're doing all the things internally correctly to make sure that you don't lose the existing customers you have. An offensive move would be much more focused on growing that customer base. So for the last 2 years, as we moved from California to Indiana, we were more in a defensive mode or defensive mindset. And this year, we're really trying to push that offensive mindset. And so it's my job to make sure that at different phases of the business, the same team is able to kind of switch back and forth and wear that, offensive hat versus the defensive hat. So things like the press release that I have mentioned, other things that we're doing with our websites and various properties, and just efforts to get out and be trying to win new business is all about playing the offense. So I think the site needs to be focused on custom. That's where we make our money. That's where we see the demand. And it needs to be versatile enough to handle the existing consumer business as well as showcase everything that we do for B2B customers. I don't think we need to hash out the decision of whether to do this or not. I think Co and I did it yesterday. It's been pulling teeth. They've kind of screwed us on this. We've let ourselves get screwed. We've let it drag on far too long, and then to be here at the tail end and realize in our testing that it's not a responsive site is just like, it's 2017, you've got to have a mobile ready site. There's a couple of things that I'm doing on my side to address challenges that I know will come up. One is trying to revamp the technology aspects of the websites, the production platform, the catalog. Felicia has a whole, it's like a 7-page document of like ongoing projects to get us in a position from a system standpoint that we can handle scaling up the business. But it's our job to make sure that you guys have what you need, and if there's a point in time where we know something's going to become a problem, but it's something that doesn't make sense at that point in time, we can put that on a list and keep track of it. But if we don't hear about it, we don't know those things that are wasting 2 minutes, 5 minutes here and there. I can't do anything about stuff that I don't know about. So
yeah, same here.
Well, and also having the understanding that your CEO built in a core value to our company for us all to be nimble. And so it's the willingness to change when even, if we think we have everything perfectly set up the way it is, we still have to be willing to change that perfect system at some point because of, again, sustainability. So I love that that's a core value for our company because I don't know if you guys have ever read Who Moved My Cheese, but in business, if you're not willing to change, you will die. Your company will not survive. So the fact that we're willing to constantly change and be nimble is hugely beneficial. So just use that to your advantage and be willing to make recommendations. Just like Anderson said, it may not be that we can do that right now or even a year or two down the road, but it's possible that we can implement that at some point. And so just don't be hesitant to extend your feedback and even suggestions for how you think things can be done differently. No one knows how things can be done better than the people that are doing it themselves. So if you have an idea, more than likely it's probably a pretty good idea. So vocalize those.
Yeah, you guys will always know more about production than I will, or Isaac, or anybody who's not back, because you guys are doing it 40 hours a week every week. You guys are the experts here. So we need to hear about it, and then we can go from there. And I've seen instances where people will recommend something, and then that recommendation leads to a discussion that leads to a whole different solution, but it was that initial recommendation that sparked that conversation. And by looking at it from a business standpoint, looking at it from a production standpoint, we're able to end up with a whole different solution to the problem that wasn't necessarily what I would come up with from the business standpoint, or you guys would come up with from the production standpoint, but it's actually a better solution on both accounts. So that whole dialogue and process is part of what these meetings are for. Even some of the stuff that we do in terms of our HR and people practices is offensive. So, Rich working with people to coach them up is offensive, because it means we're going to have people that are in the right position as the company grows, as opposed to waiting till we get to a position that we need someone, and then the more defensive move would be to scramble and hire at that point.
Change is scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, and that's just a universal thing, unless like you're really bold and you love that type of stuff. But I'm normal. Kidding.
So this is kind of think how I'd separate it from what you were saying, like complaining to, whatever, we're trying to find the word. I would say it's separating the facts from the story. So the facts is like, this is what's provable in the court of law, versus your story, which is your perception of it. Always err on the side of over communication versus under communication. Essentially, put it this way, like, you want to be playing offense and like try and get out in front of it instead of not saying anything, waiting for it to happen, and now like shit's at the fan. You're like scrambling, trying to play defense and trying to get caught up or take care of it or whatever it is, and hopefully the intent would be, let's get out in front of it so that doesn't happen.
We're really focused this year on playing offense. Obviously, defense is always important, and you've got to keep your existing customers happy and delivering for them, but it's that balance.